Hello everyone. I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me here today to share my views on Metaverse beyond ABCD. A for artificial intelligence, B for blockchain, C for cryptocurrency, and D for DeFi. What are NFTs? NFTs to me is a unit of data or unique digital object stored on a blockchain which can be fractionalized, sold, and traded, and is a one-of-a-kind crypto assets that cannot be mutually interchangeably. The economics of NFT, as you know, there are three blocks. One, you have to have a story, as in most investment. Then, of course, it has to be collectible, where there's resale value. And finally, if it's usable, that's even better. Sometimes that's not the case. For example, CryptoPunks, it is in theory not usable, but in Excel, that is different. We could see that all this have just taken off in 2017. Um, things are moving as fast as anything that we have seen. The exponential growth of NFT. Some look at the pure digital NFTs as speculative, while others look at it as a fantasy. Here are two examples. First is the Weird Whales. The other one is the Loot for Adventure, where Weird Whales is a unique digital collectibles. You can see it at the left hand bottom, and the Loot for Adventure you can see on the right hand side. There are 8 lines of or 8 itemized items in white text. So the protocol is on Ethereum network. Marketplace is OpenSea.io. The network effect is such that on the supply side, there are 3,350 for weird whales and 8,000 for loot bag. And you can uh, look at how the way the prices go, usually starting at low price, and there will be airdrops, and then the price will grow exponentially. Of course, they have to collaborate with other NFT projects for games, for derivative projects such as Adventure Go on Loot. And how do you get rewarded? Royalty gains or bottom-up enhancement of the 8 randomized items in white text for Loot for Adventures, as you can see from the right-hand side. And then you can see that in the back number 3043, there is a bidding price or the current price that you can find out from the website. Now, here are some of the questions because I don't have answers to all. First, is it a speculative bubble? How much ahead is the price to technology in terms of valuation? And of course, if the technology is ahead, we invest. If the price is ahead of technology, we divest, or we could actually hold it because then we could stay invested to enjoy the cycles like the cryptocurrency. But the main thing that we have to ask is that community, how much novelty is in the NFT? Is it connected to a coherent ecosystem? Because if you don't build an ecosystem, you don't get more people involved, then it's going to be difficult to create the demand for the coin or the token. And without creating the demand, if the supply is not fixed, or if the supply is not partially burnt, some of them, that you can burn the coins, then prices are not going to go up. Then we also have to look at whether there are a lot of other copycats for the JPEG or the .text that we talk about in NFTs. If there are copycats, are they of low quality or high quality than original? And these are all the important factors that we have to ask by a few people. So where is the value coming from? Well, maybe it's in the metaverse or so-called multiverse. This is where a lot of people are thinking that where the value of NFT will continue to increase. And you're not familiar with Metaverse, is a term created in 1992 by Neil Stephenson, and it's certainly beyond AI, blockchain, crypto, or DeFi. And it is a virtual universe where people will use digital avatars and XR, which I'll explain, to interact, akin to the movie Matrix, where a human is exemplified or having a virtual substitute. Well, in technical terms, the human is tied up with the virtual space. It is gaming and science fiction coming alive. It is quantum physics with a multiverse theory coming alive. It is a parallel physical world, and therefore there will be currency, there will be trading, there will be games, there will be presence. And well, A stands for AI, and AI could add around 16% of global output by 2030 and to about 13 trillion US dollar compared to today on 7 possible channels of impact. I don't have time to talk about that, but for Singapore, the AI market has the potential to become a 960 million market in 2022 and 16 billion by 2020 with accumulated average growth of about 42.2%. These are all in the book that I've edited, and there was a very good team from IMDA that has prepared that, and I thank them for some of the work that I'm going to quote in the rest of this presentation. For AI to have mass adoption, there must be ethics. As AI increasingly becomes more pervasive and plays an expanding role in our society, there's a need to build trust in AI. There's also a need to know how AI arrives at its conclusions and recommendation to trust computer decisions. In Singapore, we have the FEAT principle. FEAT. F stands for fair, E stands for equitable, A stands for accountable, and T stands for transparency. And those are important. The codes has to be able to be audited, and even as technology advances, there's a strong need to understand human-centered AI to address the motive aspects of product or service consumption. As we can see from the list, those are the algorithms and techniques that we have identified that will change the world in the next few years. B is for blockchain. Unlike AI, blockchain is less mature in the diffusion of the innovation curve. Blockchain has been described as being at the face of the early majority for the investment community. In the technology aspect of blockchain is still in the early adopters stage or perhaps in the innovator stage. However, there's an acknowledgement that blockchain technologies offer capabilities that provide for new business and computing paradigm. Because of the evolution path for blockchain, industrial sentiment is more conservative. The projections suggest that blockchain technology will create more than US $176 billion worth of business by 2025 and US $3.1 trillion by 2030. For Singapore, that number is 272 million in 2022 and increased to US $1.9 billion by 2030 with a growth of around 32.5% in a cumulative and average manner, slower than AI. Well, the primary function of blockchain as governance, as we know, is to act as a self-sustaining mechanism to allow for maximum improvement and growth for all participants in the ecosystem. So it's designed for all, is to benefit all, and is to distribute the profits by distributing trust and also to replace the costly third-party trust by lower cost third-party trust using smart contracts. And in the blockchain, the critical components of governance will include the incentives and also the mechanism for coordination, which includes, of course, on-chain and off-chain consensus. Talking about that, then we need to ask the questions, who governs who? The two most important questions to ask is what is doing the governance and what is being governed. And if humans are governing humans, it is a straightforward case of laws and regulations. However, if humans are governing blockchain, that's when we have the off-chain governance, such as Bitcoin or Ethereum developers sharing the improvement proposal like EIP or BIP through mailing lists. And what's interesting is that blockchain can govern humans as well, and it becomes a tool for coordinating humans and dictating their behaviors, offering them incentives and rewards for a desired outcome through consensus. And this is very important for RegTech and GovTech, and also through votes to undo the action is another example. So interoperability or oracles are other examples that we talk about, and it's no surprise that multiple central bank digital currencies are talking about interoperability, and in future we will know that oracle is important as well. We will start decentralizing oracle for 5 years. So when it comes to C, which is cryptocurrency, in the metaverse, you will need that because when you have transaction, you will need cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency market has grown from 1.43 million in 2010 to 1.78 trillion in May, which is the peak for this year so far. The market for non-fungible tokens surged to a new high in the second quarter this year, with 2.5 billion in sales for the first half of 2021, up from just 13.7 million in the first half of 2020. And in March, the digital image, we all know, sold for 69.3 million at Christie's in London, but to a Singapore fund manager from Sri Lanka. And no NFT sale has come close since then. And the second most expensive was a CryptoPunk that fetched 11.8 million at Sotheby's. But we ain't see anything. D is for DeFi. Decentralized finance is a blockchain-based form of finance that do not require a trusted third party or centralized intermediary. It is a parallel universe to the traditional finance and is likely to be very disruptive when central bank digital currency utilizes smart contracts. You can see that China, Singapore, Thailand, Hong Kong, UAE, Cambodia are all in the advanced stage of issuing their own programmable fiat money with smart contracts capabilities. The total value locked in DeFi has increased from the mere US dollar 117 million on 31st December 2017 to 113 billion just a few days ago. And of course, the biggest DeFi exchange is under investigation, and after that, it's likely to have mass adoption. What is multiverse and what is metaverse? A multiverse is a collection of multi-universes, and an omniverse is a collection of every single universe, multiverse, or metaverse. And a metaverse is a set of universes or the composite of all universes. Mark Zuckerberg has created a new metaverse product group, and he hopes to transform the social media giant into a metaverse company. Of course, the user experience is not satisfactory, but it will be very interesting to see how metaverse combines the physical and the virtual world with a decentralized web or internet that will embody sharing, attention, contributory, and platform economies to the physical world. So the convergence of technology is something that we need to pay attention, because the rate of change in a wide variety of evolution system tends to increase exponentially. And one of the drivers that for this lies in the technology convergence. And metaverse is certainly a kind of stacking up of the ABCD and beyond, so that the technology can augment one another. This is consistent with suggestions from a lot of futurists, and we are seeing that happening, and this disruptive power lies in the intersection of all these technology. I was talking about XR, and you can replace this X by any other alphabet. So XR means extended reality, and those of you who have watched the Chinese New Year performance by Andy Lau, Liu Dehua, that was by XR and on CCTV, and it refers to all the real and virtual environments generated by computer graphics and wearables, including AR, VR, MR, and MR means mixed reality, mixes the real and virtual experiences with occlusion. That is, the computer generated objects can be feasibly obscured by objects in the physical environment, just like what we see in the real world. Things can be blocked, and considering that the research on convolution neural network was only first published in 2014 by Ian Goodfellow, we taught the computer how to see things, and we taught the computer how to think like human, We have a significant leaps from even the generative adversary network that led to machines competing with each other, and also variation autoencoder that create anything that does not exist in this world. We have moved a long way, and we are now into exponential growth in the convergence of IoT with AI, blockchain, cryptocurrency, and DeFi. Putting the thinking cap for regulators, number one, that it may be challenging for inefficient governments of the world. The metaverse has wide implications. Whether we are talking about ABCD, they all pose significant problems to regulators. And second point is the concept of Ma, which is at the heart of Japanese minimalism and Zen philosophy. Well, in Latin, horror vacui means fear of emptiness, a turn of phrase that turns clutter into horror. The term is used in the visual art and design worlds, and is often associated with Italian art and literature to express less is more. The important point is Ma is a celebration of not things, but the space between them, and that is Metaverse. Like a promise yet to be fulfilled, the quiet time or private space that we all need to make our busy lives meaningful, or perhaps going to the space to meet other people. With a world of uncertainty surrounding us, the need for an escape to Metaverse doesn't sound so unattractive, as the promise of nothing overwhelms the material needs that can never be satisfied. That's why there's nothing I should want. With new property and new high property prices and emptiness in real life, the Metaverse provides a heaven for those seeking to live humbly and create a distance from material possessions they live in. And third, the young feel that they need to do something. Rather than hope, they try to do something, so that they feel that they can never be left behind, since they cannot afford the luxury of their parents, and for their retirement, they need to have financial independence. Therefore, they seek the asset class that's negatively correlated to the assets owned by the wealthy, that misunderstood by most, and under-owned by many. Okay, any asset class is misunderstood by most and under-owned by many seem to be attracted to them. And therefore, Elon Musk, when he gives a command, the young tend to jump on the bandwagon and follow him. And well, at least they think that they stand a chance to financial independence. If they do that, well, if not, then they retreat to their NFT or metaverse world where they own their crypto kitties, digital art, rocks, whales, apes, and dogs. It may be nothing to you, but that's the space they spend their time. So metaverse provide them with an outlet. And this is the presence in that space, and the metaverse can help those who feel lonely, homebound, neglected, and despised. It's about presence, presence left, right, front, and back. It's just like the real world, there's a distance between individuals, unlike the Zoom meeting that we have now. Or most of the time is about the contribution of individuals as well to build the network effect. It is about sharing the profits of the. There is also a merging of the physical and virtual world. The company NVIDIA has actually a new project, and they have released the open source software in 2016. The Universal Scene Description provides a rich common language for defining, packaging, assembling, and editing 3D data for a growing array of industry and application. In short, humans can teleport into the virtual space, and AI can teleport out into the real world. So this is interesting in the sense that engineers can not only meet virtually, but they can also collaborate in a physical or virtual laboratory or construction sites. In the Omniverse, engineers can build physical infrastructure and products, and robots can build robots. It is no more about mass production, but to produce goods cater to individual needs and tastes with low cost. BMW is already producing cars using the Omniverse, and it is designed entirely in digital and simulated from beginning to end, and the virtual and physical factories and the robots will operate in loop. The user experience for Oculus, HoloLens will increase over time, and NFTs will probably go up in value. If you still wonder why the NFTs are worth that much, the simple answer is that it is due to demand and supply, and it's about the future that the buyers want. Some of us see that, some of us will not see that, but as long as the end result brings joy, the prices will go up. There are some questions that have no answers. Number one, have we forgotten how we got here? How many ICOs, cryptocurrency, and tokens have failed, and without them, could we still have the network effect of today? What has contributed to the demand and therefore the price of cryptocurrencies that empower sustainability? Perhaps the answer is in building the network and ecosystem. Second, have we created a more self-centered, maximalist, or more inclusive and human-centric world? And perhaps we need to have a more human-centric world, more inclusive, less destructive, more creative, as well as more mass adoption. Number three, have we analyzed the risk of the metaverse, where we have to use more energy, more communication bandwidth, and more raw materials? So what happens where we don't have the raw materials, and who have them? What happens where there's no green energy, but energy that pollute the world? And what about the disruptions on the web? How are we going to deal with that? Number four, will humans still give birth? A very interesting question. Or create NFT robot partners or NFT children that cater to their needs? Is that the world that we want, or how human race will sustain? I pose all these questions, but I do not have the answer. There are even more important questions. We are only interested in investment returns and have forgotten those that have created impact without a good return. Will we be able to build the ecosystem for the metaverse? Those failures have contributed in one way or another. If we despise them, we are going back to our old and bad habits, chasing returns, creating a monopolistic market that have no impact on making society a better place. There will not be sustainability and stability. We need to harness technology for good. Without the moral lens in seeing the future, the vision in the metaverse will remain very blurry. Those who buy into the NFTs think that they can see it more apparent than others. Perhaps the correct lenses have not yet been fully distributed or distributed evenly to all to see the direction. For others, it will be wait and see until there's a fear of missing out, just like cryptocurrency. FOMO will only come if the metaverse is used to create a better world. Because without doing that, I don't think the regulators and the government or the corporate would like to be part of this. It is like crypto in 2014 once again. Let's not forget how we get here, and let's not forget those who have failed and try again, and we should encourage them to try again and not to despise them. But if the rewards are only from the investment returns and not from impact, then we are heading in the wrong direction. But I'm optimistic that we will refocus on harnessing technology for good, and there's another type known as physical NFTs. It is a convergence of blockchain, AI, and IoT. It can identify original source and return margins to owner. It is very useful for supply chain tracking and transparency, and I believe corporates and government will continue to harness this for supply chain as well as for trading. We are all waiting Matrix 4, the movie, but Keanu Reeves says, I don't want to be part of the world where being kind is a weakness. Well, I don't want to be part of the world where investing for impact is a weakness. Neither do I want to be part of the world where being human is a weakness. So remember, Don't chase return and let returns chase the impact. Thank you very much.